Mike Foley, I've been wanting to interview you for a while now, ever since I interviewed Tom Shanahan, who sang your praises and said you literally changed his life, and that's high praise. I don't hear many people actually say that. So, Mike, you are running literally, from what I understand, one of the best gyms in Maine, Foley's Fitness. Is that correct?
Yeah, I feel very fortunate. Thank you. Yeah, we opened up in December of 19, so it's relatively new gym, something I always wanted to do. I've
That's
been working in the fitness industry since '89, full
wow.
time. So '87 in college, and then full time since '89.
That's outstanding. And you've been AAAI certified since 2001.
Yeah, yeah, they've been really good. I always loved the conferences when they had them in Cape Cod, and just going to. I actually went to one of your classes. I thought it was great.
Oh,
Yeah, yeah. So I've been very. I think it's a great organization. Very
okay.
happy to be associated with it.
Oh, so you've been to one of my classes as well.
Yes, yeah, a couple times. Yeah.
I guess that was when I was going to Cape Cod.
Yes, I coming from Maine. If I leave around 3 a.m., it's not a bad drive. It's about 3 hours.
As a personal trainer, what is you? Do you have a niche?
Well, my background, I started out as a personal trainer in college, training people, and then I ended up going more with the nutrition. So when I just approached the bank about opening a gym, I told them I basically at that point I had 23,000 clients I've done. So when I first got into the fitness industry, doing it full time, it wasn't really looked at as a full time job. Back in, everyone goes, well, why don't you teach, do business, or why don't you sell? And I'm like, no, I want to be in the business. So I was fortunate enough where I worked for Gold's Gym Corporate, and I hit the East Coast, so I'd be on the road with working with bodybuilders up and down the East Coast. And then that was a great job, but I was on the road a lot. I was be on the road like 25 days a month. So then I ended up working for Gold's Gym in Portland. It was a Gold's Gym, it was a nice gym, and they were great to me. And then I ended up just wanting to go on my own. So I worked at various gyms. My last place was World's Gym. They were great to me. And I was at each place I worked, I was there for about 15 years, and I just wanted to go on my own with it and build my own gym. And at this gym here, we have 20 personal trainers, so we're lucky. I want it to be a job where trainers can actually make a living, and kind of, we've about 4,000 members, so we're very fortunate.
Wow, that's fantastic. Yeah, and I like what you said. You want to have a gym where personal trainers can make a living.
Yeah, and I think like the thing with it is like when you say like a niche, I always think kind of like like if you're a trainer or doing nutrition, you want to be working with everybody. You just don't want to work with just bodybuilders, especially in Maine. Like when you look at it, and you got to be able to really relate to people. Like if you're training them and you get a guy, like say my age, I'm going to be 58, that hasn't been working out as a regular part of their life all the time. You don't want to crush them on that first workout. It does no good. It takes time for the body to change. You got to have a feel for it. Like a perfect example is you look at like Tom. He's very talented. He does multiple things, being a lawyer and everything. But he has a good sense of people, and he has a way about himself that makes it work for him. And I think every trainer has to do it with their own personality. You don't want to have it not. You don't want to be the sales guy that has the same pitch to everybody, and you want to kind of do it within a style that fits yours. And obviously, everything you do, you should be respectful of people.
Yeah, I agree completely. And I'll link to Tom's interview below for people who may have missed it. Did you say earlier you've had over 20,000 clients?
Yeah, I've done now over 25,000 clients. I've been doing it for a long time. So like typical day of mine in like book is like, here's the amount of clients I see. I see them pretty much like every 15 minutes, and it's just kind of designing it and then keeping people accountable. So I don't really have time to train people anymore. I spend the weekends where I'm at the gym, I like to be around helping people, but I don't really train them, and then I just send them out to our trainers.
That's got to be like the dream job. That's great.
I really am. It's kind of funny is, I always loved the fitness industry, and everyone always says, well, why didn't you do the gym earlier? And it was like, well, things were going well without it. I have 3 kids, now they're adults, but if I was little and it failed, I didn't want them to be homeless because I went on to live my dream. So I was kind of doing my dream job even when I didn't own the gym. I was doing all the training, and World's Gym was great to me. And every gym I've been at always been great. And I always felt you learn from the different gyms. And really when we opened this gym, I just wanted to kind of be a gym for everybody where you can kind of go in and get your workout and, but you got to make sure you get people comfortable in the gym.
That's great. So you're basically doing consultations throughout the day with everybody.
Yeah, so my job's pretty sedentary. It's like I pretty much sit and talk to people. And the first one takes about an hour where I design the plan, and then I meet with them weekly, and they take about 15 minutes. So yeah, I'm very fortunate. I've been doing it for a long time, and I don't really have to market it. It's just something that comes, like I said, very fortunate.
That's fantastic. And it sounds like you do a lot with nutrition, which is probably why you took my class many years ago.
Well, I think so many times is what I try to do is take the way they eat and then put structure. If someone's not going to prep food, you're not going to treat them like a bodybuilder walking around, or if someone has a job crazy. Because as much as I believe in fitness, is if your body would change by just working out, everyone would work out. And when you look at, like, when I first got in the nutrition industry, I believe it was a $36 million industry. And it has a 96% failure rate. Now it's billions. I don't even know how many. And it still has a high failure rate. Whether someone's doing the new weight loss drugs or whether they're struggling with different things, you still have to put the structure and the exercise. Because it's not about weight. It's about being fit and being healthy. And I think as you get older, people understand that better. But the one thing with the eating I always felt was kind of easy. It's easy to keep people accountable because, one, they're paying you and they want to do it. And then their life's just better. When you look at anyone that's been exercising for a long time and eating healthy, I don't think very few people ever go back and go, oh, I wish that was a waste of my time. No one ever says that. Like they fall off and, you guys just bring them back in, because the only reason why it's hard is because society doesn't do it. 80% of the people don't really exercise regularly. 80% of the people don't really eat healthy. So that's the only reason why it's hard.
Yeah, we're seeing that ramifications now in the population.
Yeah.
I think I read the other day that 60% of the population has at least one chronic disease.
Yeah, and so much of it could prevent it through diet and exercise. And I think even with young people, you see it keep rising. And I think the athletes are so much better than we were growing up, because they're doing all the training and they have all the AAU and travel and all that. That wasn't an option when we were growing up. But I think the average kid kind of gets left out. So I think the athletes are better, but the average person's probably less athletic than they ever were. Like each generation gets less and less active because of technology. And, not many people as they get older want a job that's really physical. I think that is hard on the body. So the thing with exercise, you can train hard, but make it easy on the body too.
Right. You said something else interesting. You wanted to make a gym that was for everyone. And that's something that I've noticed with the gym world over the years. They seem to cater to the very fit people.
Yeah.
And most Americans are not very fit. And I've always thought that was a problem. And I don't know how the gym world addresses it. The only one I ever hear talking about it, and not so much anymore, would be Planet Fitness.
Right. And when I approach the bank, they go, well, how can you compete against a Planet Fitness? And Planet does a really nice job, and they got their niche. But when you think of it like this, it's like, say when you go to a conference, and a lot of times you go to a conference, you're seeing probably more people on the fit side because they want to be a trainer or they want to get in sports nutrition. But have you, like I can say less than 1%. I've never heard anybody fit making fun of someone starting the journey or someone overweight. So they get that small percent of people that drop weights, yell and scream. But that's such a small percent of the people. And they've been able to make a living with that. And I always think kind of like what you have to do is when you get a gym, you have to get people comfortable. So you can't assume they know how to use a machine. You can't say like it's easy. It's like as we get older, like technology, my managers know our software system a lot better than I do.
How did you come to be AAAI certified over the years?
But I was just looking, I was first certified by the American Council of Exercise and kept that one up. Then I was just looking for another one. And what I really enjoyed with it was when you went in there and you took the test, it was a lot more practical, because what they were doing is they weren't trying to make you a kinesiology expert. They were trying to make it because when you think of it like this, it's like, say when you go to a trainer, right? You're looking for them to be able to relate to people and to be able to understand the body. But you're not looking at them as your MD. You're not looking at them as a PT, just like a lot of physical therapists are great, but they don't really understand lifting to change a body, right? Like sometimes you'll see them doing a squat and you're like, yeah, they're not really firing their glutes or their legs, it's not really a proper squat, but for the PT and what they're dealing with, they're doing it right for them. And then like as a trainer, you just know, like, if people are lifting, they want to see changes. You want to know how the body works, and they just do such a good job of breaking it down with enough technical, but not trying to make you over the top.
Yeah, I agree. I like you likely have. I've got an awful lot of personal training books from other organizations as well, and they all teach the stuff the same way. Like you're sitting in a college classroom, and
Yeah,
as I say when I teach a class, no one's ever going to ask you what glucose 6 phosphate is.
exactly.
Nobody cares about that stuff.
Right, and when you're training people, like what I also like is they talk about the fact about like keeping people accountable. And I always find it funny when they think keeping people accountable, if you have the average person, like you're in their face. Well, as you get older, you don't want anyone in your face. You want them just encouraging you or getting that last rep, but also pushing you to a safe environment. Like as you get older, one rep's not going to change your body, even when you're young, but an injury will. And they do a very good job with injury prevention. And I also think like all the presenters I saw, like when you do your talk, you do it in a really good way because you're calm. You're not trying to, everyone has to do it their own personality, but it's not like you're trying to get people super psyched because they're not going to always be fired up. Sometimes they're going to come in the gym and they had a bad day or a bad night or their babies were sick. They don't want to do it, but that's a workout that's going to make a difference. You just got to get it unconditionally show up.
Since you've worked with over 25,000 people over the years, do you remember your very first client?
Yeah, one of my very first client, I do remember, she was kind of like a lady, very nice, but just came into Gold's Gym. And Gold's Gym's a bodybuilding gym, especially like in the 80s, right? It's definitely a bodybuilding gym. And she just said, like, I hate exercising, I hate sweating. And she was relatively young. She was probably, I was really young. I was like 21. So she was probably late 20s. But I just remember like she was like really the perfect client because even though she was scared, she was real coachable. And we just started out walking on the treadmill, and then we just started doing a few machines. I just show her 2 machines, and then a couple weeks later I show her a couple more, and next thing you know, she got comfortable. And she was one of the clients, like I've been doing it for a long time, so she lost a significant amount of weight, and she kind of remained a client for about 20 years until she moved. Just for the accountability, like then she'd come in like every 3 weeks. She lost a significant amount of weight and then just wanted to keep it off.
That's fantastic. Yeah. That's really
Yeah.
wonderful. Yeah, I also once had a client who said to me, I don't sweat. She said, I'm from the South. We don't sweat in the South.
Yeah, I think we can change that, right?
I was kind of thinking the same thing. You're
Yeah.
going to sweat.
Yeah, and it's kind of funny, and during COVID it was obviously a tough time. We opened up in December, and by March we had about 22 to 2,300 members. So it was just going. We were already profitable. It was going. Couldn't have been better. And then we got shut down, and I was very fortunate. I got turned down by a lot of banks, but this Bangor Savings gave me the loan. And the guy that gave me the loan, this Alex Lopez, called me up and goes, I just remember he goes, because my approach to the bank, I kept saying, the one thing about a gym, even if you're not into it, is not controversial. Whether you like working out or you don't, everybody needs fitness. And then it was like we were shut down because you can't have people sweating, and I was like, this is the time people need their health, and it was like a frustrating time for everybody. And when you look at things like that, you look back, they probably would have done things differently, but you didn't know at the time, so it was like, but it was frustrating when you're into fitness and wanting people to be healthier, and it was kind of looked at like, well, sweating's gonna spread it, and I'm like, well, if you're sitting at home eating, and that was the time most people gain weight, and because when you build a fitness, what you have to do is, like CrossFit's a good workout, right? I'm not saying it's not a good workout, but what makes CrossFit is they build a community. Pilates is a great workout, yoga, they're all little communities, and what I wanted to do was kind of become a big community, like when I first got into Gold's Gym, like the bodybuilding is a great way of working out, but when you look at like bodybuilders, that's such a small cult. That's like a little extreme, and it's not going to be for everybody. So you don't want to be just one, you want to be for everybody.
I agree.
And that's why I don't think you see many women-only gyms anymore, because they're not for everybody. And it's hard to make, the fitness is incredibly competitive. There's a lot of nice gyms in our area, and there's a beautiful planet. So what you have to do is you have to make sure that you're building a community. That's the key, with a lot of different personalities, which I always liked in a gym. It's always different.
Yeah, I agree. The gym culture is a great culture.
Yeah, and when the gym, like like I said, like I know Tom does a lot with the sober community, and I always thought like people trying to get sober or better their lives, fitness is one thing where people feel so much better about themselves. And when they have other addictions, fitness is an addiction, but it's such a positive addiction.
Yeah, yeah. There's a lot worse things you could be addicted to.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And I think when you have that real addictive personality, it's a great thing to turn it into, right? Better than other things you could be doing.
Yeah, use that power for good, not evil.
Yes, exactly.
Working with all the people you have over the years, is there a win that sticks out in your mind? You're like, wow, I really, besides Tom, who you've literally changed his life, is there someone out there you're like, wow?
Yeah, I've had some people that have been done like a lot of bodybuilding shows and won those. Those are nice, but probably what I'm most proud is because I've been doing it so long. It's not as impressive as it sounds, but I have 789 people that have lost 100 pounds and kept it off for 7 years that I'm aware of. Yeah. So it's like, and that's when it's really like, because you see a lot of people lose weight for 6 weeks or 12 weeks, and those are generally the lengths of my program. But when you see someone really continue with it and they keep in touch, and nowadays it's so easy too. Like I always tell people after you're done, hey, text me every few weeks what your weight is. Gives them a little bit of accountability. I don't charge them. Or a lot of them I've been very fortunate, a lot of my clients have become members of the gym. So like I can text them and be like, hey Billy, you only been in the gym 3 times this month. The gym's still open, let's go. And you can kind of keep them accountable that way.
I think that's a great way of doing things. I've heard, interesting you mentioned that, I've heard from some people who work in big fitness that they are told not to do that because people may say, Jim, let me cancel that.
My brother's my partner in the gym, and he often says, he goes, when you call people up when they haven't been in, you kind of remind them, and it's true, but I still think in the end, if they're going to go back to it, at least they know you cared. And I think sometimes with it is people need that accountability, and I think sooner or later someone's going to realize they haven't been in the gym, and I think sometimes with it is a lot of times when people haven't come on to the gym and they're holding their membership, I don't think they're doing it to support the gym. I think they're believing on the hope they'll get back to the gym. So, and I don't harass them. I just kind of say like, just remember how important this is into your life.
Right.
And it's just one of those things where, that's why like most days we get about 1,000 people through the gym. It's a very active gym, like say if someone's going through a tough time and they're getting in the gym once a week, that's not great, but it's better than none. And it keeps them on board. Where if they go, you see a lot of people where they go, I got to get back to the gym. They haven't been in 10 years, and it's like, then they get the health, thing. So it's like, you want to keep of it, especially like when you live, I'm in Scarborough, Maine, the gym. Like a lot of times in the winter, unless they ski a lot, they're probably not real active, and it's too cold or it's always ice, so it's hard to do walking. Where summertime comes, a lot of people like exercise outside, but they still try to keep up to the gym a couple times a week at least.
You've already mentioned what I think is a standout important point, that forming community is a really big important thing in fitness. If you think you belong, it's almost like Cheers. You walk in, everybody knows your name.
Yeah, you have to. And my staff is really good about it. And I just think now we live in a day and age where like so different than when we first got into working out, now gyms have to be really clean. And so we have people always cleaning, but they do a real good job of remembering the names, and they just kind of like, I think, in the old days, a lot of times you go in the locker room, it'd be like, now it's just like, everybody can have different services they offer, but if a gym's clean, it just promotes other people wiping down their equipment. Stuff like that, always think kind of like, I love that part of the gym, where you can train hard, but you still want it clean.
Yeah. And I can also compliment your gym. I called your gym twice when we were setting up this interview. I talked to 2 different people at your front desk. They were both really nice.
Oh, good. Thank you.
And really friendly. And that is something that I don't see at a lot of gyms personally. I sometimes see it, but oftentimes I'm like, oh, I think you could have handled that better. But no, you guys were really good. I mean, I talked to one gentleman and one young lady, and they were both extremely helpful.
Oh, thank you. That means a lot to me, because when someone walks in, you want to make them comfortable. So I can kind of relate with some things when the gym, they don't feel comfortable, But you just got to get them to come in and try it. And I think the idea is like most gyms, most of the people in the gym enjoy seeing other people in the gym,
Oh, for some people, especially for the very old, it may be the only time they have interaction with other people.
Right. And that's
So
why as a gym, that's why I take Silver Sneakers. It's a great service, and they just bring a certain energy. They never break the equipment. They never, and then a lot of times you get their kids in. Because I think seniors do a great job of promoting your gym because they want to tell people what they're doing. It's kind of like they get very routine. It's almost like church. They'll be on the same bike, but they do. I just enjoy them.
now, is there something that you wish new personal trainers or personal trainers in general knew more of that maybe they don't? Maybe think of something that maybe they don't think of, or
Yeah, the one thing like our trainers are great, but I always think of it like you have to have a good feel for someone that comes in the gym and they're new to training, whether they're young or old. You just don't want them getting that nausea feeling sick, training them too hard, And I think like the one thing too, like I've always tried to make sure with my trainers I talk about is like when you come in, you build little relationships, but you want to make sure when you're working out, you're there to train them. Listen to some things, but like in the end, they got to feel like they had a great workout. If they want to tell you something about their life, but you don't need to share your life. You don't need to be like, oh, I'm having a bad day, or unless I just think it's got to be about them. And when it's about them, if they want to tell you something, and never tell anyone. If someone tells you something, and I just think that's just common things with most things in life, though. But I think the biggest thing is making sure they have a feel for that individual. That like you're pushing them, but you're making them feel good about it. And I wouldn't want to be doing like, say, if I went into a boxing gym, I'm not a fighter at all, but I wouldn't want the guy to send me home with a black eye and losing a tooth or something, That wouldn't be a very good experience,
I sometimes think about someone who came to one of my personal trainer classes many years ago, and he said to me, well, Joe, people only come to us because they want to get ripped. And I looked at him and I said, no, they don't.
Yeah, it's funny. That's such a misconception. And I also think so many times, like I was talking to a group of doctors a few months back, and they weren't workout guys. They weren't, they were kind of starting the journey of fitness, say. But they said the problem is people have unrealistic expectations of their body, and I don't really believe that. I think most times as you get to certain ages, right, especially like say I'm going to be 58, I don't see myself looking like The Rock. I don't think people have. I just think what happens is they don't have structure. And then they want to blame everything. So you can always blame society, like, oh, this why wasn't, this, that. And you have to look at yourself as like, the body's a true, like SAT test on your habits. It's like that machine. It doesn't, like say, and it changes. Like as I was younger, I used to lift heavier. Now I don't think my joints can handle that. I remember when I got 40, I had to make sure I did enough stretching. And now, I had some different eye issues. So now I'm really making sure I get 6 hours sleep. I lived the majority of my life on 3-4 hours sleep. I was just working so much. And I thought it was like the one thing I was talented at. And looking back with what we know about with, the capacity of the brain, you need enough sleep to make it work, all the cognitive stuff. So I'm really paying attention to get enough rest.
Yeah, you got to do that. I remember many years ago, I had made this bold statement to somebody because I was working a lot and wasn't sleeping a lot. I remember saying, yeah, sleep is for weaklings. No, I don't know.
Well, I think that's the way I looked at it, kind of like that rockhead mentality is like, hey, I don't need sleep. I'll sleep when I'm dead. And it's just such a, but I think it's like anything, you kind of push it until you can't. Like, I lifted heavy till my joints no longer, heavy for me. Might not have been heavy for someone else, but the weight was heavy for me, and now I just look at it and I want to leave the gym with a good hard workout, but I don't want to be injured.
Correct.
I don't mind being a little sore.
Yeah, sore is okay. Injury not okay. I think that's
and as you get older, the joints kind of get worn out.
Can't repair them with a medication just yet. I don't know if we ever will.
So true.
You're in a unique position that you have created your own gym. For the people watching us right now who are like, I want to do what Mike's doing. I want to open up my own gym. Is there anything that you wish you knew beforehand that you didn't that may help somebody watching us? Or do you have any advice?
Like I've been real fortunate because I was in the industry so long. So I got to, I was at several gyms and I got to learn from them the things they did right or things I thought they maybe could have done better. And again, all the gyms I worked were really good gyms, so I was very fortunate. But I think like the key with it is when you're building a gym, it's kind of like you're trying to build your brand. So like, say for example, if we're talking and I go, I really like the whey isolate supplement. Let me tell you why. It has a few ingredients, it digests easy, it allows you to recover, it's convenient. But if you're trying to sell everything, like creatine's another thing. I think 5 grams of creatine, as we know, is not going to turn you into a pro bodybuilder, but it's good for cognitive, good for recovery, and good for workout. But if you're trying to sell them everything, your credibility's gone. And then you just have to be ready to work. Like, I love the gym. I couldn't imagine doing anything else. Like if someone said like with the bank, they always say, well, the only thing we don't like is you don't have a out plan to retire in. I don't have any other hobbies. I like it. It sounds like it's kind of shallow, but I like working out. I like working with different people. I like working with people that have different mindsets. And then you just got to keep learning. And with anything, you got to keep people accountable, and you got to be like think of it like this. When I started out in the late 80s, very rarely did I do gluten-free diets. Now so many gluten-free diets. So something's going on with the foods, so you got to keep, and you got to listen. Like if someone doesn't feel well, like you might say like, look, I want you to eat a gram protein per body weight. But some people don't feel good on that. Some people need more, some people need less. And you got to, just like training, you can't get caught into like again, I think like CrossFit's a good workout for some people, but not for everybody. Some people like yoga is enough of a strength workout. Some people have osteoporosis, so they might need the real weight training. And you can't be in the mindset like machines aren't good. The old days machines allow people to really push their body in a safe environment. Free weights are great too. So with the gym, I have a bunch of different lines of equipment because I think a lot of each line have different pieces they offer that are valuable, but if people don't know how to use it or they're not using the right form, they're going to be injured, And you try to keep an environment with the gym now with phones. Like obviously people are going to bring their phones in, but you want people to be courteous of their phones. Like my whole life, I've never understood when someone would take a dumbbell and not bring it back. So you just can't let that, or load the weight up. I mean, I worked at for Gold's Gym, sometimes I'd be at some of the hardcore gyms. I don't care how hardcore you were. Everyone put their weights back. No one left the machine full of weights. Some people just do it out of maybe not enough knowledge but either way, you just can't let it happen. You just got to show them.
Do you have any advice for personal trainers who are watching us right now who are thinking, I'm certified.
Yeah.
How do I make this go for me? How do I make this a career?
Say you're a trainer at our gym, and there's quite a bit of trainers, and you kind of have to market yourself. All the trainers are employees of mine, but I do a pretty good percent. If someone works 25 hours, they get an 80-20 split. So if they're working 40 hours, they're going to be making 6 figures. And it's hard to make 6 figures as a trainer, but I remember at Gold's Gym back in the 90s, I was able to do it. I worked a ton of hours, But my other choice was doing a sales job I didn't like, or working in some warehouse or some mill that I just didn't want to work at. So I felt pretty fortunate. But you have to be in the gym. You can't look at it like, if you go in the gym and you don't have a client, you're not getting paid. You have to look at that's your chance to sell yourself. And then you have to sell yourself by how you behave. Like if you're not living a clean lifestyle, no one's going to want to send their wives to you. It's just one of those things. It's just kind of being respectful of people and not limit your clients. Like you might. And a lot of it's not perfect. So you have to start out and train people and go well, in a job, any job you do, we should continue to get better, or at least stay the same, right? So what happens with a lot of people is they try to make sure they know everything about everything before they start. You got to start with that first client, and kind of say hey, think of it when we first started training, every split was chest try, back by, leg shoulders, 2.5 hours in the gym every day, repeat, Sundays off. Now we know probably you're never recovering, but we didn't know then, And now I just think we know more about recovery. So it's kind of, and then I think you have to listen. If you have a client come in, I have a lot of clients and they go, look, I don't really want to have a beach body, or I just want to be able to move well, and I don't mind having a little bit of a belly, or I'm fine with that. I just don't want it to get worse. So, listen, you can't say no, I want you having abs. You have to say okay, this is what we can do. And have knowledge on all things. Even if you're not doing nutrition, understand good foods or bad foods. You don't have to be perfect on it. I don't know yoga very well or Pilates, but I know enough to tell them the benefits of it. You wouldn't want me teaching the yoga class or the spin class or any of our aerobic classes, but I do understand the benefits of each class. You know?
You said earlier your trainers, you're giving them a 80-20 split where
If
they're
they
making,
work 25 hours, yep.
that's phenomenal.
Oh,
I
thank
would
you.
imagine you don't have a shortage of people who want to work for you.
Right. I've been pretty fortunate, like a lot of the trainers or even the staff, like a lot of our staff have been with me the whole time. And you have to, as they've been with you for a number, you got to keep paying them. But like I always thought but it's such a benefit for the gym because if you're not rewarding them, then they go to somewhere else or they go open up their own studio. And like say like a trainer opening up their own studio, which is fine. Everyone's got to live their dream. I have people that want to go in and sell medical advice. Fine, whatever you want to do. I always think people do jobs to get better at doing whatever they want. But if you're working for me and you go, well, if I do my own studio, you do the cost. That's taking 40% instead of 20%, and I have no walk-in clientele, and I have to market where like in a gym, there's always people going in. And what I've learned too with different people, like when you have a trainer, you don't know. You think some guys will be great or girls, and they turn out to be just okay. And then you have some people where you go, well, I'm going to give him a shot. He seems hungry, and they're sometimes the best.
And you're interviewing a personal trainer. Is there anything you're looking for in that trainer that you're going to say, wow, that's really good. I really want to hire this person?
Yeah, what I look for is just like, I always like someone that like kind of seems like they're hungry, but not like arrogant, not like saying like, because I always like prove like I think with anything with arrogance is one of those things that like no one cares. No one can say like, oh, Mike does a good job except your clients. If I say I do a good job, it never made sense to me, So I think you got to be like, look, I'm confident I can do a great job. So you want them confident, but you want someone that's willing to work, and then you get people that are willing to work. I think they can really, you want it to be where they can make a great living. And it takes time, So I have a lot of times when trainers come on, I really like them having another job, because it's like, it takes time to build a business unless they're really young and they don't really need much money. I remember like when I was first training people, I was also working at a warehouse, second shift. And then I was like, okay, that's getting old. But then I could make the transition, make it full time.
Very good. Mike Foley, this has been a great conversation. I know a lot of people are going to get a lot of good information from this. Do you have any closing thoughts for people? Any words of wisdom?
I just think me and you are so fortunate to be working in the fitness industry. And when you look at like the fitness industry, I think everyone that gets involved in fitness or works out and make fitness part of their life, no one ever regrets it. So if you're not working out or not exercising, I think it's like a lot of times people say it's stressful. It's only stressful if you're not doing it because you're thinking about, because everybody knows they need fitness. No one says like, look, I want to be unhealthy this year. And the only way you can be healthy is if you make the right choices. And it just comes down to you control it. Everybody has different genetics. Some people, like, you'll look at people and you'll be like, oh my God, he's got high cholesterol and the guy's ripped and, he seems to eat healthy. It's genetics. That's why there's medication. But before you look at all the different medications, look at your lifestyle first. And that's what I always try to tell people.
Great conversation, Mike. Really appreciate your time.
I appreciate all you've done helping people get involved in the fitness industry.
Yeah, we need new people, that's for sure. And good people.
Yeah, thank you, Joe. Every time I took your class, I really enjoyed it.
That's very kind of you. I appreciate it. Well, come on down to Atlantic City in June. You'll take it again.
Yeah, I may do that. That might be good. Yeah, awesome. Maybe I'll make that trip. Thank you.